practice it. Exercise 16.22 reverse is the absolute last problem for exercise chapter 16. If you want more practice hits, as always, they're in the playlist below the like button. This is it. This is it for the ListNodes. We've come so far, and this is arguably the hardest one. It definitely took me a second, and it's pretty crazy because not only are you like moving things up in the ListNode, you're actually referencing things previously in the ListNode. Now, you could also have done like ListNode previous, basically have a link that goes to the previous node. You could have done this beforehand. I chose not to in this chapter, but this needs it. You could also solve this with a stack if you wanted to, because you're reversing the values, but let's just do ListNodes only for this. Of course, there's always many ways to solve different bits of code, but this is ListNodes, so that's what we're going to do here. So for something like this, what we're going to be reversing, I am going to, obviously we need something that links these original nodes together, right? And we don't want to modify the original list directly, so we are going to need a ListNode current. So let's make this. It's going to be a public void because we're not returning anything. We are just modifying, and it's called reverses, and no parameters, but inside of our method we need our ListNode, and then we're going to call it current, and we're going to set it equal to this dot front. So that's going to get the front of our list as always. We also need to make a previous, and this previous is going to be what reverses our list. So let's make a ListNode, and you can call it reverse as well, but you might get that confused with the method header name. So let's just stick to previous, and we're going to set it equal to null currently. Currently it is empty, but eventually we are going to want to have this dot front be equal, because remember we're reversing this entire thing. It has to be equal to previous, and that is going to be our reverse list. So essentially what we're doing is we are moving from current to previous. In doing this, we are going to need kind of a middle node. So in a while loop, which we will need because we need to go through our entire linked list, and we're going to do this for every single value. So that means while our current is not equal to null, we're going to want to be inside of here. We need that middleman. We're going to call it temp, ListNode temp, and this is going to be equal to, now this is the tricky part. So we have 3 ListNodes currently. We have a current, we have a previous, and we also have our temporary. Okay, so current is currently our entire list right here, 1, 8, 19, 4, and then 17. Previous is null. There's nothing inside of here, and temp is yet to be assigned. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as we go down here, add into previous. So the first iteration will add a 1, the next iteration will add an 8, next it'll add a 19. Well, also we have null right here, so we should have null in front. So like this, and then we should add a 4, and then we should add our 17, kind of like this. So I want to first look at this first value right here, the 1. And so to look at the 1, we need to reserve everything after that. So temp is going to hold our 8 and everything after that so we don't lose it. And so 8, 19, 4, 17 is going to be in temp. And the way we do this is, remember, current is currently equal to our head. We're going to set this equal to our current dot next. So every time we run through this, we are going to get the next value, and we are going to store it inside of our temporary. That way, again, we do not lose it. Now, we also want to update our current next value. So currently, current has our entire list. If we update it with our previous, it's now going to store 1 and then our null, like this. And then after we do this, so we have to update current to be equal, the current.next equal to be our previous, then we can set our previous value equal to this whole current. So then essentially what we're doing is getting rid of whatever's in here, and then we're going to have 1 comma and then our null. So to do this, remember, let's assign our current.next right now. Current.next is going to be equal to our previous, and then previous is going to be equal to whatever the current is. And that's pretty much going to set our stage for this. When we want to go through this again, we want to send our temporary back to our current. In doing this, we are going to get rid of this, and now our temporary value again goes into our current. It's going to be 8, 19, 4, 17, like this. And then our second iteration, before we do the second iteration, let's actually write that down right here. So we're going to say current is equal to temp dot, actually, yeah, it should just be that. Current is equal to temp. And then we can close our while loop. And so when we go through this again, we are setting our temp equal to current.next. So current.next currently is pointing to 8. It's going to now point to 19, so that's why we have 19 starting in here. Current.next is equal to previous. So current.next is now going to be, getting rid of all this, our previous, which is now 1 and a null. And from here, we're setting our previous equal to our current. So that's going to leave it to be 8, 1, and null. And then current is equal to temp. So now current, we're reassigning it again to be 19, 4, 17. Our third iteration of this loop is our temp equal to current.next. Well, current.next is 417. So we have 417 in here. Current.next is equal to previous. So our next value is going to be, getting rid of all this, 817. I'll just write this up here like this. 81, or not 7, sorry, this is a null, not a 7. And then previous is equal to current, and current is going to be 1981 null, so 19 comes down here. And then we reset it again. So that's essentially going to be it. That's the logic for this. And you press submit, and then you can look at this again. Oh, we have an error right here. It should be reverse. Let's try that again. So that's the code, and this is our logic, all the iterations that we would go through. That passed 5 out of 5 tests. That'll complete our section, and that's it for exercise 16.22 reverse. If you have any questions, as always, comment below. If you want more practice it, check out that playlist. Let's go to the next chapter.